We had a bad need for water. We had contaminated wells, had mineral content in the water. Some wells would go dry in the summertime and late fall, so we had to have some kind of a public water system that had safe drinking water.
The water level's going down. We have a lot of minerals. The quality of water was terrible. The quantity of water, the volume, some folks had real stout wells, and a lot of them had wells that would probably produce only a pint to a quart a minute. I myself have 4 dry wells.
We have a system of water flow to the homes that was archaic. Virtually no control, there were no meters. We've got people in town that like I said, are old, husbands and wives living in a home, and based on the old system, they were paying probably more than they have to. We knew that we had to go meters.
Nearly 9 of every 10 communities in America are small towns, and many of them have problems like these.
In working with a lot of rural communities, one of the things that comes across my desk probably more than anything else is where there's an inadequate amount of resources. We work with some smaller towns that simply do not have the necessary cash resources a lot of times, even with the presentation of a grant to meet the match necessary to get the funds.
But New Jerusalem, Connolly Springs, and Delmar found that they did have a resource to solve their water problems: self-help.
When we started considering the monies, there just wasn't enough. So we decided that looking at the alternative of self-help was going to be the only answer.
Self-help, the key to a program that is helping bring abundant, safe, and affordable water and wastewater treatment to small towns across the country. The Small Towns Environment Program, STEP, developed and managed by the Rensselaerville Institute near Albany, New York, and operated in partnership with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the Ford Foundation. For 20 years, the Institute has pioneered the use of self-help techniques, demonstrating that individual citizens and communities have the initiative and skills to solve their own problems. Let's take a look at a few STEP projects to see how self-help works. Here's Jane Schouts, director of the STEP program at the Rensselaerville Institute.
STEP begins with the state. We start with discussions with high-level officials to make sure they understand the concept. After that, collaboratively, we work out the selection of the demonstration community. There are 2 non-negotiable criteria. One is that the community, through its own pores, has to understand that they have a problem that's got to be fixed. The second important thing is that there is somebody in that community that we call the spark plug, somebody who is excited and has a vision of what the outcome will be, and somebody who's prepared to be a hustler to make things happen at the local level. When those things are in place in a given community, we can make music.
About 2 years ago this past May, Jane and Eric came up from Raleigh and talked to us about the possibility of our putting in our own water system. I think a lot of us at that point in time didn't think it could happen.
If you've got volunteers, if you've got a strong person that'll come forward and say, I'm willing to pull this together, then you can have a good application of a self-help project.
When a community has been selected, the STEP team goes to work. This team includes people from state agencies, a STEP staff person, and the community Sparkplugs. The team's first task is to develop an action plan and budget. A critical difference between a STEP project and conventional programs is that STEP focuses not on how to increase revenue to pay for a project, but on how to decrease costs to make it affordable. STEP knows that the best way to get money is to need less of it.
The people in that community got together. They got the easements together, which they have to have. They borrowed the bulldozer and so forth to get their right-of-way from the county. The county helped in this. It's the most amazing thing that I've ever seen. To sum it all up, they probably, in this instance, instead of maybe having a $180,000 project, they probably got through for around $80,000, $85,000.
trucks come in, we have very little down.
State agencies can provide guidance and support in helping the town mobilize its self-help resources.
I might play 20 questions with them. Well, who do you know that can do this? Who do you know for resources for a backhoe or for a construction material? Or where do you get sand around here? Or all sorts of things. And then once the locals really start picking up on that, they are often the ones that come up with the best cost-saving ideas on a project.
When estimated life cycle costs have been reduced as much as possible, the STEP project team then goes out to find the money to cover those expenses that are unavoidable. They may make special arrangements for bank loans, get donations from corporations, individuals, civic organizations, or they may arrange for grants from foundations. And when other sources fall short, STEP has access to a $1.5 million fund from the Ford Foundation that can be used for short-term, low-interest loans. But this backup is not often needed because of an important STEP breakthrough: using the value of local efforts as a match for state or federal grants. Once the STEP project team knows how the project will be structured and financed, construction begins, with a community's own Sparkplug providing the local leadership.
We basically took fellows that were willing to give their time and to work in the trenches on Saturday. We scheduled 26 Saturdays. Like I say, if you take amateurs and lay 500 feet of 6-inch pipe in a day, plus the equivalent of a half a hydrant each time, which probably takes 2 to 3 hours each, I think we did real well.
Everyone pitches in.
One thing I thought of before we started this project was the taking care of the guys, because I knew we'd be working all day long. So I thought of the water and tea, and then of course meals like lunch. A lot of the ladies in the community brought it to me and I would serve it.
I think it was wonderful to be volunteer. Anytime you had water lines or exposed earth, we would get the straw and the mulch. My wife and children, we'd carry it and put it where they wanted it, and we're proud of it.
We had a lot of skilled operators in the community, and they kind of let us use their equipment on the weekends. They cooperated with 100%.
A lot of times you think just men can do this. That's not right, because women can get out there and lay that pipe, put that pipe together, string that tracer wire, and you know, there's a lot of things that we can do.
We never let them know the easy and the fun part was running the machinery. We tried to hold that to ourselves. We could put them down in the ditches laying the lines. So.
In a self-help project, some people may worry that local businessmen and unions will feel they're losing business or jobs to volunteers. Experience has shown that with properly selected and organized projects, this is not a problem.
This was quite unusual in that everybody was volunteer labor. And we were apprehensive to begin with as to whether or not this type project would work. But we were quite pleased because the project worked very well.
How do local and state agencies feel about the quality of work done by volunteers?
Quality control is very, very important in this project, and we try to help the people every step of the way. We provide them with a list of do's and don'ts, and we also drop by occasionally to make sure that they're being followed.
Okay, well, I appreciate you coming around because I was somewhat concerned with just where the
we
marking
make
was.
sure that inspections are done like they are done in any other project. What we found is that the quality that they put into it is as good, if not better, than what you would typically have from a contractor. They have an interest to see that it's done right.
In every state where the STEP approach has been demonstrated, it is being extended beyond the initial demonstration communities.
There's so many of our, especially our rural communities in Arkansas, that could do this same thing. And I believe once they hear about it, that it will get so contagious that we'll have to give some kind of immunization to keep it from spreading.
In over 150 communities, in states across the country, STEP water and wastewater projects have improved life for the residents of communities prepared to help themselves.
We have also a very strong sense of community spirit. I mean, we've got neighbors helping neighbors, and it has really brought together the community in a way that I never ever expected. From the perspective in dollars and cents, we've saved close to $400,000.
Another few words of advice.
I don't believe this project would have been built probably within 10 years had it not been for self-help.
It has put water into the homes of those people who were barely able to buy their medicine and their groceries.
It's going to help lower the amount of money we pay on insurance, and it gives us better fire protection.
And my neighbors, I talked to them, and they was all enthused over the water. So actually, through it all, we was more glad of the water than we were the pain that we had going through with getting the line laid. When it was turned on, it was well worth it because we had plenty clean, fresh water. And I would do it again within a heartbeat.